Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Flow Over Fear podcast, where it is our mission to help you to rise above fear and realize your ultimate potential in leadership and life. I'm your host, Adam Hill, and it is my goal to share with you the human side of high performance. My guests share their experience with fear, anxiety, struggle, challenge, and most importantly, despite all of it, how they rose above it to achieve incredible results. So, if you're ready to rise up, let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to Flow Over Fear. I am your host, Adam Hill. And today I want to get into an event that I went to this past week called Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins. And many of you, if you know Tony Robbins, you know of these events. They're 4-day immersive events that last 12 to 14 hours per day. You walk on coals and you chant a lot and you scream a lot and you eventually lose your voice, which may be why my voice still sounds a bit raspy. But I wanted to get on here, quickly after the event, within the week, so that I could process some of the things that I learned, some of the things that I picked up, and convey at least the top 3 or 4 things that I took from the event and that really resonated with me. And some of these things are not necessarily things that Tony Robbins taught. They're part of what he taught, but part of how I internalize them, if that makes sense. And that's really how we should approach a lot of these personal development events or masterminds or things that we get involved in. Is not necessarily just regurgitating the information or jotting it down like we're taking a class or like we're taking notes, but how we internalize them, how we apply them. After all, I mean, it's all about the actions that we take beyond the program themselves. So the first element out of the 4 that I want to talk about today, the first element that I took from the UPW event was that my heart is my strength when my brain is weak. And my heart, this was an amazing kind of revelation to me that my heart has been with me ever since I've been born. I know that sounds like a really, really crazy concept, and it'll be with me until the day that I die. But during UPW, we went through a great kind of meditation where and it was a priming exercise where we started to, the first thing we had to be grateful for was our heart, that our heart is beating in our chest and that it never stops. And I've heard that before. I've heard it expressed in other UPW events and other events that I've been to, that we should be grateful for our heart. But it never resonated with me, or it never stuck with me in this way. Because it just hit me so profoundly that my heart has been with me every step of the way, good and bad, regardless of what I've been doing. Even when I was practicing bad behaviors and bad habits, my heart was still beating in me. It wasn't judging me. It wasn't being critical of me. My brain, on the other hand, is critical of me. It'll judge me. I have to work with my brain to get it to say the right things. But my heart is always constant. It's always beating. Maybe beating faster at times than others. It may be pumping more blood, but it's pumping healing blood through my system. Even when I sleep, when I have to rest, my heart doesn't rest. It keeps going. And this was especially true when I started to get healthy, when I started to heal, when I discovered that I had that moment where I felt hopeless in a jail cell, and I had the choice of ending my life and not continuing, or leaning into my heart and healing. And I leaned into my heart, and that was really the first time I acknowledged it, even though it was subconscious. And when I leaned into it, I healed. I went through that healing process of sobriety. And then the next step, of course, was when I started to get my physical health in order. And I used my heart. I used my heart for training. I trained with heart rate, and I began to work collaboratively with my heart. And that's when my life truly changed in a profound way, because I started to recognize it, even though it wasn't to this degree. And so this was the first weekend this past weekend where I felt really, really grateful for my heart. And now I can wake up every morning, and during my morning method, I could put my hands on my heart with everything I do. and remind myself that my heart has been with me through everything, and it will continue to be the constant through everything, through all of the days of my life until I take my last breath. That was a powerful lesson. I need to listen to my heart and I need to take care of it, because the stronger it is, the stronger I become. Now, the second thing that I learned from that was from the Tony Robbins event, from the UPW, was that if we don't prime ourselves, we are being primed. In other words, if we're not going to take control of our priming, of our morning, of what we do as a routine on a daily basis, then we are going to be influenced by the outside. Regardless of what we think, we are being primed. Even during this UPW event, I'm well aware that Tony Robbins was getting in my head, was getting in all of our heads and priming us. That's why we were conditioned to feel so good. He was conditioning us. And in my experience, that was something that he had said that resonated very profoundly with me, which is, if you don't prime yourself, you are being primed. So do it yourself. Prime yourself. Take control of that. Then you can better influence the outcomes, your perspective, the things that come in. And that's something that goes in line with something like a morning method. If you can include priming in there, if you can include ways to prime your state, your physical, your emotional, and your state, and your language, then you will be influencing how outside things that are outside of your control hit you or influence you. You're in control of that. And the third element, the third thing that I resonated with in there, was that there is power, huge power, in community energy. Now, I always knew that I was very sensitive, that I have been very sensitive to the energy in the room. If people are feeling down, or if they're feeling sad, or if they're feeling happy, I tend to feel that and start to experience it. It's one of the superpowers of anxiety, is that spidey sense, if you will, right? So that was a powerful, but especially within a group like this, I recommend, I recognize why UPW is so powerful, because in these empowering messages, where everybody is in a willing state to absorb them, that community energy is contagious, and we all start to grow in that community. So when you're thinking about the community that you're in, when you're in that community, in any community that you're in, whether it be at work, whether it be in a group, whether it be in your family, what kind of energy are you projecting? And what kind of energy is being projected by the people that you're surrounding yourself with? This is where the power of the people that you surround yourself with can influence your life dramatically. Because the more you surround yourself with positive people, empowering people, people that are achieving, people that are doing, the more contagious that is. And that was experienced in the room, in the conference center of UPW this week. And it's why I think everybody leaves that conference room or leaves UPW thinking, I'm going to take this into the rest of my life. I'm going to take this feeling that I have into the rest of my life. And then they get outside and they get influenced by negative people, and immediately their energy gets drained, because it's who they're surrounding themselves with. So there's power in that community. Community is so powerful for so many reasons: for the energy that it gives you, for the alignment and goals that you're serving, for the accountability. I could tell you that the most successful people are in accountability groups. I myself am in a couple of accountability groups. I'm one for brand building. I'm in one called Go Abundance, which is amazing, which is an amazing group of men that are working together to achieve great things in the world and contribute great things into the world. So find that community and build that energy. So the fourth thing that really resonated with me in the UPW event was that it is important to have a massive action plan. Now, I witnessed many people that seem to have their full-time job, their full-time energy goes into doing events like these. And I get it. I get that, that after finishing an event like UPW, the first instinct is, I want to keep this feeling going. I want to go do the next one. And so they go up and they sign up for Date with Destiny, or they sign up for the next UPW or Life Mastery or all these other things. They sign up for these great things. And this is not a criticism on those events. I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they're wonderful. I've been in a couple of other ones to that, and they did serve me well. But the problem is if that's all we do, is then we're just chasing that feeling. We're just chasing that feeling, and we're looking at that feeling as something that's external being put on us, meaning we're depending on Tony Robbins to give us that feeling. When in reality, that's not what's being done here. If we're doing it right, if we're doing these things right, we are learning and we're conditioning ourselves to create that energy and that attitude and create that circumstance ourselves. And so we create it from within. It's not Tony Robbins doing it from us. It's not Grant Cardone doing it. It's not any of these people doing it to us. They're helping us to release it within ourselves. And so once we do that, and it's good to do that at certain intervals in our lives, but once we do that, we need to take that feeling, recognize that we are creating it, and own it, and then do what we can to continue to project it, and then we convert it into massive action. And that's exactly what Tony Robbins talks about in his seminars, is to take massive action. You have to take the time, instead of jumping right into the next personal development thing. It's good to take the time to implement what you've learned from this one, to focus on the one thing, the one massive action that you can take to get to where you want to be. And that massive action, by the way, can still be a small step, because small steps can still be massive actions. They can be, if they're in the direction of a big, bold, brave dream. That's what I would encourage people to do in that. I did see a lot of people that were, I got to get into the next one. I got to get the next one. But really, the key thing is to recognize that we are creating that feeling. It was just being released within us. We are creating that empowerment. That empowerment exists within us. Now we have to condition it to keep it going. Now we have to take massive action to reinforce it. And then every once in a while, every few months, maybe once a year, depending on whatever interval works for you, recharge that battery by going to one of these events, because these events are powerful. UPW is a very powerful experience. Walking on the hot coals was an experience similar to, if not a little more fear-inducing than a cold shower, in that it gives us that, it works out that muscle of rising above fear to achieve something more. So UPW was a great event. I really enjoyed it. I will probably go back again another year. This was my third time, second time in person, first time virtually. I went one time virtually. This was my second time in person. And I do plan on going again at some point in the future. But I plan to take what I took away from this event and implement it in my life now, and try and keep the momentum going. So until next time, we'll talk to you later. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Flow Over Fear podcast. If you'd like to learn more about getting into flow and learn the foundations of flow, I have a free video series on my website at www.adamcliffordhill.com called The Foundations of Flow. Feel free to go there and download it and start your journey to rising above fear and achieving greater flow in your life. And if you like this episode, and I'm guessing you did if you stuck around for this long, then please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and you will receive notifications when I have new interviews, new recaps, and new trainings that pop up on YouTube. Thanks again for joining us.